Hey guys, this week's video is dedicated in memory of Masha Bas Bashava. I hope you guys are having an amazing Chanukah and you're staying warm and dry in this craziness. But speaking about Chanukah, the miracle of the oil gets the most attention in the Chanukah story. And it's interesting because there were so many miracles that took place during Chanukah. The Maccabees over the Greeks, but why is it that the oil gets the most attention? Right? We eat things fried in oil, we light the Chanukah, we light the menorah. Why? And the reason is because the oil really represents what the entire story of Chanukah was about. You see, the Greeks were not against the culture of the Jewish people. They were not against Judaism per se. They thought that Judaism had a lot of value. But they couldn't stand, what they were against was the spirituality. Was when we did mitzvot that had no rationale based on logic. We did it only because God told us to. That made them crazy. That's what they were fighting against. The soul of the Jewish people. The spirituality that underlines, that is the very foundation of the entire Jewish religion. Keep your holidays, they liked the culture. What they couldn't stand was that our connection with God. This is represented by oil. And this is what the Maccabees were fighting for. They were fighting for the soul, for the spirituality of the Jewish people. And this is represented by oil. Oil, as much as you try to dilute it, it always floats to the top. It always stays up. That's the soul of the Jewish people. As much as throughout the generations, different nations, different societies have tried to dilute the Jewish soul, it always floats up, even in the craziest of circumstances. I want to share with you an amazing story that I just heard, representing this idea. When the Rebbe first came out with the menorah campaign, that every Jewish person should have a menorah to light and we should reach out, there was a Rabbi Schwartz, affectionately known as Schwartzy. He was a Chabad rabbi at UCLA. And he was going around, he took this to heart, and he was going everywhere to make sure that every Jewish person had a menorah. It was one night, it was late at night, and he was in LA, and he had to get home. And he realized that the quickest way to get home was by driving through a neighborhood that was not a place you wanted to drive through even in the middle of the day, especially not late at night. But it was the quickest way to go home, so he was driving through this neighborhood, he had a yeshiva student with him, and lo and behold, the car stops. What happened? He ran out of gas. He had been running around, kept pushing off, I need gas, he didn't get it, ran out of gas in this neighborhood in the middle of the night. They were nervous, but they knew they couldn't just stay in the car, that's not gonna help. So they got out of the car and they start looking for a house that has a light on. They're not just gonna wake up some random person, who knows what's gonna happen. So they're looking 2 blocks away, they finally see a house that has a light on. Nervously, they approach, they knock on the door. A large gentleman comes to the door and they're all nervous how they're going to explain. Here they are, two Hasidic Jews in the middle of a neighborhood that has not seen Hasidic Jews in probably ever. And just when they were about to explain what's going on, this guy smiles, turns around and calls to somebody, hey, you have visitors. And they're like, what? What's going on? And a girl comes to the door, a young woman comes to the door. And they realize right away that she's Jewish and she invites them in. And this fellow says, how can we help you? And they tell him that they ran out of gas. He says, you talk to her, don't worry, I'm gonna go get you guys gas. And so they sit down and they're really wondering what this Jewish girl is doing in an area that not a lot of Jews live in. And before they can say anything, she says, wait one moment. She goes and gets an envelope from the other room and she comes back. She says, let me tell you my story. She said, I grew up in a very Jewish family, but I went through my own challenges and I left. I left my family, and I married a non-Jew. And we live here in this area, and my family wants to have nothing to do with me. And for years, we had no connection. Recently, I felt like I really wanted to connect with my family, so I reached out. And my mother wouldn't take my calls. So I wrote a letter. I'm your daughter, please, let's reconnect. And she sent me back this letter, which came today. And in it, she said, I would love to reconnect, but what do we even have in common anymore? We're so distant from each other. For example, right now we are celebrating the holiday of Chanukah. Do you even have a menorah? Do you even know that it's Chanukah? How can we connect? She says, and here you guys are a few hours later. I had just been telling my husband, I wish we could at least have a menorah to light. And here you guys are. I don't know how you found me. This is some Chanukah miracle. But here you guys are holding, they actually had a menorah kit. What is going on? And they explained to her. They said, we had not been planning on finding you, but the Rebbe had this mission that every Jew should have a menorah, and here we are. And they lit the menorah together, and they called her mother in the middle of the night so she could hear them singing Hanera Halalu. And this began the journey of her coming back to her community. And she's now a huge pillar in her Jewish community. And this is the oil. This is the Jewish soul. As much as it's diluted throughout time, it always rises up. And this is the miracle of Chanukah. This is what we're celebrating. This is what we're commemorating. We are celebrating the Jewish neshama, the Jewish soul. Shabbat Shalom, Chag Sameach. Take care.